When it comes to having a shoulder to cry on, ENTJs are the worst people to turn to. They do not deal very well with emotional people and are very uneasy when around them. Why? As we discuss 7 shocking confessions of the ENTJ, the Commander Personality, let's find out. When looking for a person with good logical reasoning skills, look no further than an ENTJ. These individuals are known for their assertiveness. Compromising is not what they will do. ENTJ's strengths are being efficient and being overly confident. Having to compromise in school or at the workplace feels dreadful. What makes the ENTJs afraid? What are their fears? Let's begin with 7. Stupidity. To people with the ENTJ personality trait, dealing with stupid people greatly stresses them. One of the most important things to them is being in a good mental state and being brilliant or bright. Stupidity not only stresses them, but also frustrates and makes them really anxious. Because they like to make their own decisions. Not being in a good mental state will devastate them, as they won't have the ability to make their own decisions. For instance, when the Trojans discovered the Greeks' gift of a large wooden horse was a troop of soldiers, they felt foolish for having accepted it. Not only do they dread being stupid, but they also do not like being controlled. Let's talk about that in a bit. 6. Mediocrity. The ENTJs are natural-born leaders. Anything that makes them fall short of that trait is terrible news. They believe that as a leader, you should always be on your guard. No mistake will be pardonable. They dread being anything short of the leader they are meant to be. People with the ENTJ personality trait desire to attain goals at all costs. Mediocrity will never do. You are capable of something better, says Gordon B. Hinckley. You may want to quickly take a break and hit the subscribe button, because what's coming is so interesting that you may forget to do so. 5. Being controlled. ENTJs dread the idea of being controlled by someone else. They want to be in control and believe they are the only people capable of controlling others and should not be controlled by any other person. To them, being controlled by others feels like they are held captive or in a tiny hole. For instance, an ENTJ will think a friend trying to have their attention is trying to control them. They are not used to having others tell them what to do or having people ignore their decision. Having to adjust or adapt at work, or work puts them in a very tight space. ENTJs believe control is meant for them and feel weak having people doing things for them. We'll discuss that shortly. 4. Emotions. A typical ENTJ is poor when it comes to expressing themselves emotionally. When confronted by an emotional person, they find it very hard to relate to them. Dealing with people who happen to be emotional doesn't sit well with them. They dread having to come in contact with a passionate person. We can say emotional blackmail seldom works on them. If you want to torment an ENTJ, you can put them in a room full of emotional people. For instance, an ENTJ will never attend an AA meeting even if they need to, because that's a room full of people sharing emotional things. ENTJs are not the kind of people who will lend you a shoulder to cry on. They cannot endure the stress of dealing with an overly emotional being. 3. Helplessness. ENTJs love being independent. To the ENTJ, being physically helpless, being involved in an accident that could lead to paralysis, losing sight of reality, or mental incapacitation is their scariest thing. They want to be able to make their own decisions, do things for themselves, and have the free will to take charge of their lives and their environments. Having someone else do something for them is a sign of weakness, and they won't be subjected to that. Mother Teresa believed, "If I look at the mess, I will never act." 2. Compromise. It is bad news enough for an ENTJ to compromise for anyone or anything, especially after they've made up their mind about something. Walking away from a decision they've made or have to agree with someone else is very rare for the ENTJ. They hardly compromise and would instead stick with their decision rather than compromise for someone else to get their way. They want to be in control, not the other way around. They are called the commanding personality for a reason. Compromising makes them feel weak and controlled, and they do not like it at all. For example, Julius Caesar and Napoleon Bonaparte were known ENTJs, and they did not compromise much in their lifetime. ENTJs are very vicious about their decisions, making them outstanding leaders. 1. Incompetent. Showing any form of incompetence is an awful thing for an ENTJ. To these people, the fear of being seen as incompetent or unqualified is their death of them. They strive for greatness, so showing any sign of incompetence beats them. Before they do anything, they make sure it's perfect without fault. They are scared people will have little doubt about them. They prefer to know everything so they won't be off guard and appear unprepared for a given task. They are known for their perfection and excellence in dealing with schemes. Masha Gasson believes, where incompetence is prized, it is ever present. But there is one of the 16 unique personality types, and they are ISTPs. To know more about them, we recommend our video on top 7 reasons ISTPs stand out from the rest. World Most Adventurous Personality.